Russia launched 43 drones at Ukraine one night. 43, and one of them missed. It crossed the border and landed in Romania, a NATO country, and hit an apartment building. A 14-year-old kid got hurt. Now, Russia did what Russia always does. Oh, it was an accident. Side effect of war. Not our fault. Except here's the thing, Romania had heard that exact excuse 27 times before. This was drone violation number 28, and this time, Romania was done being polite about it. Today we're going to break down exactly what happened, why Romania's response hit harder than most people expected, and what this whole situation tells us about where Europe's security is actually heading. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's set the scene. It's the night of May 29th. Russia fires a swarm of 43 drones at the port of Izmail in southern Ukraine, right on the Danube River, which literally forms the border with Romania. Ukrainian air defenses knock out most of them, but one slips through. It's a Geran 2, Russia's knockoff of the Iranian Shahed drone, and instead of landing in Ukraine, it drifts across the river and into Romanian airspace. Romanian radar picks it up immediately. They scramble 2 F-16s and a military helicopter. Pilots get authorization to shoot it down. But here's the problem. The drone is flying really low, just a few hundred meters off the ground, and it's only in Romanian airspace for about 4 minutes, covering around 10 kilometers. By the time the F-16s get anywhere close to engagement range, the drone has already hit a building in the city of Galati. And that same night, in a completely different part of Romania called Maramureș, hundreds of kilometers away in the northwest, they found another large drone. No explosives, but still Russian-made. So it wasn't just one stray drone, it was at least 2. Romania's defense ministry confirmed both were Russian. And this wasn't an isolated incident, it was the 28th time Russian drones had violated Romanian airspace since 2022. But it was the first time one had actually struck a building and hurt civilians. So what did Romania do? They didn't just send a strongly worded letter. President Nicolae Dan called an emergency meeting of the Supreme Council of National Defense. That's basically Romania's top security body. And when it was over, he walked out and announced a series of moves. First, and this is the big one, Russia's consul general in the city of Constanta was declared persona non grata, and the entire consulate was ordered closed. Now, why Constanta specifically? Because Constanta isn't just Romania's biggest port. It's home to NATO's largest naval base on the Black Sea. It's an hour away from NATO's missile defense shield. It's a transit hub for military supplies going to Ukraine. And Romanian intelligence had basically known for years that this consulate was being used to monitor NATO naval movements and track weapons shipments. Closing it didn't just send a diplomatic message, it literally blinded Russia's intelligence operations in one of NATO's most sensitive corners. On top of that, the Russian ambassador in Bucharest got summoned to the foreign ministry. Additional sanctions on Russian diplomatic staff were proposed, and Romania formally requested that NATO urgently deploy equipment to detect low-altitude drones. Exactly the kind that slipped through. All of this happened within hours of the drone hitting that building. That's the fastest diplomatic response any NATO country has made since the war started. Now here's where it gets interesting from a bigger picture perspective. Romania's foreign minister came out and said the Galati incident justifies Article 4. That's NATO's consultation clause. If a member country feels its security is threatened, it can call the whole alliance to the table for formal consultations. No military action required, but it's a serious step, and it carries real diplomatic weight. Now, Romania hasn't officially triggered Article 4 yet, but just putting that card on the table got a reaction. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte came out immediately in full solidarity. The U.S. ambassador to NATO called it a reckless incursion. And NATO's spokesperson went further. She said additional defensive measures were being actively considered. That's not just words. That's the alliance signaling it's about to do something. The EU jumped in too. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced preparations for a 21st sanctions package, something that wasn't even on the agenda before this happened. France summoned the Russian ambassador and condemned the attack, which matters extra because French troops are stationed in Romania. This drone indirectly threatened French soldiers. Meanwhile, the Kremlin's response? Spokesman Peskov said Putin was informed of the incident, but wouldn't confirm whether the drone was even Russian. Romania had already published the drone's trajectory, model, and origin. Russia's entire defense was basically, we're not saying anything. And then this is almost unbelievable, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson threatened a swift response to the consulate closure. Russia dropped a drone on a NATO country's apartment building, and then threatened retaliation for the diplomatic fallout. That's the position they were in. Okay, so we need to talk about the military side of this because it's genuinely impressive how much Romania has changed in the past 3 years. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Romania was honestly one of the weaker links on NATO's eastern flank. They had a 650-kilometer border with Ukraine, a Black Sea coastline, ports within Russian missile range, and they were still flying Cold War-era MiG-21 fighter jets, aircraft from the 1960s trying to defend against 2020's threats. Fast forward to 2026, completely different story. The MiG-21s are gone. Romania now has 49 F-16 Fighting Falcons, acquired from Portugal and Norway. With 18 more coming from the Netherlands, they'll be at around 66 to 67 modern jets by the end of the year. Those were the F-16S that scrambled the night of the Galati incident. Air defense has been built into a layered system. At the top, 4 Patriot batteries for ballistic missiles and high-altitude threats, with 4 more coming by 2027. Below that, French Mistral systems and South Korean short-range missiles cover the medium and lower altitudes. And then there's the drone vs. drone layer systems, specifically designed to hunt and kill the kind of cheap drones Russia keeps sending over. One of those systems, called MAROPS, was actually being tested in Romania during a NATO exercise just in April 2026, the month before the Galati incident. Romania's defense minister said it would be operational within days. If Galati had happened 1 month later, that drone might have been intercepted. Ground forces are modernizing too, Soviet-era tanks being replaced by American M1A2 Abrams, and HIMARS rocket systems that can reach targets 300 kilometers into the Black Sea. And here's the part most people miss. Romania is building its own drone production capacity. They've received 18 Bayraktar TB2s from Turkey. They've signed a joint drone production deal with Ukraine, and they have a separate production and testing program with the US and UK. Romania is not just defending against drones anymore, it's becoming a country that builds and exports them. Oh, and 1 week before this drone hit that apartment building, the EU approved 16.68 billion euros in defense financing for Romania under a program called SAFE, one of the largest defense packages ever granted to a single country in European history. 15 separate programs covering everything from air defense to naval modernization to defense industry development. The timing is clarifying. Let me give you a sense of why all this matters strategically, because Romania isn't just a NATO member. It's kind of the keystone of NATO's entire southeastern flank. At a base called Devesalu in southern Romania, NATO operates its ballistic missile defense shield for Europe, an Aegis Ashore system with SM-3 interceptors capable of knocking out medium-range ballistic missiles mid-flight. Russia has been demanding this shield be removed for years. It's still there. Near Constanta, Mihail Kogalnicianu Air Base is being expanded into what will be NATO's largest base in Europe, a $2.7 billion project, 3,500 Allied troops permanently stationed there, and the US is turning it into a pre-positioned logistics hub. Any attack on that base directly involves American personnel. That's not a NATO response, that's a bilateral US response. No coalition vote required. And Romania is the southern gateway for weapons flowing into Ukraine. A country that was once considered a weak link is now a country with layered air defense, modern fighters, drone production capacity, and Europe's biggest military base on its doorstep. That's the story most people aren't talking about. If you want more breakdowns like this, no spin, just the actual situation, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.